He was just a kid with a dream until Elvis Presley stopped the show and gave him the mic. It was one of those hot Vegas nights where everything just felt electric. The showroom at the Sahara Hotel was packed wall to wall, the kind of crowd that came dressed to impress, all waiting for one man, Elvis Presley. People were buzzing, chatting, laughing. You could feel it. Something special was about to happen. Backstage, Elvis was getting ready. He was calm, collected, but focused. He'd done 1,000 shows, sure, but each one mattered, and tonight was no different. The lights dimmed, the band was in place, the curtain hadn't even gone up yet, but the energy in that room, you could bottle it. You could bottle. And then out of nowhere, a voice rang out from the middle rows of the audience. It wasn't Elvis. It was a young boy, maybe 10, maybe 11, singing, loudly, like he was the only one in the room. People turned. At first, they weren't sure what they were hearing. Some thought maybe the sound system was glitching, but no, it was a kid just going for it, singing along with the background music playing before the show. Not quietly, not shyly, he was really singing, and honestly kind of pouring his heart into it. At first, it caught people off guard. A couple of folks laughed. Someone whispered, "Is he serious?" But the boy? He didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he just didn't care. He was lost in the moment, singing to Elvis like it was the most natural thing in the world. He didn't know it yet, but that one decision, to sing from his seat like no one was watching, was about to change his life. And from backstage, Elvis heard him. Not just the sound, but the heart behind it. And right then, Elvis made up his mind. He was going to meet that kid. The boy kept singing. His voice wasn't perfect, a little shaky, a little off-key, but it was real. You could tell he wasn't doing it for attention. He was doing it because something inside him just had to come out. But the people around him didn't quite see it that way. A couple in front turned around, rolling their eyes. A woman nearby giggled and gave her friend that look. You know the one. Like, what is this kid doing? A man leaned over and said, not even quietly, "Kid's got guts. I'll give him that." A few others just shook their heads, annoyed. His mom, clearly flustered, leaned over and tried to quiet him down. "Honey, maybe just hum for now, okay? The show's about to start." But the boy looked at her and whispered, "But Mom, it's Elvis." And he kept singing. People started whispering louder now. You could feel it, the judgment, the tension. It wasn't a full-on attack, but it was enough to make a kid feel like maybe his excitement didn't belong here. Like maybe he should have just sat still and stayed quiet, but he didn't stop. He was nervous, sure. His cheeks were a little red, but something in him, that childlike hope, that belief that dreams were allowed in places like this, kept him going. And then, the music stopped. Just like that. The room went quiet, the spotlight froze, and even the whispers died off. Then came a voice, not from the boy, but from the stage. Elvis, calm, curious, and just loud enough to cut through the silence. "Hey, who's that singing out there?" Every head turned toward the boy. His eyes widened. He froze. His mom looked like she wanted to disappear into her seat. No one said a word. The laughter was gone. And in that quiet moment, the whole room held its breath, because whatever happened next, they all knew it wasn't going to be just another night at an Elvis show. For a few long seconds, the entire room sat frozen. All eyes were on the boy. He looked stunned, like he was caught between fear and awe, as if the air had been knocked out of him. Then, from the stage, Elvis stepped forward, shielding his eyes from the lights. He peered out into the audience and asked again, a little softer this time, "Who's that kid singing out there?" "Was that kid singing out there?" A few people chuckled nervously, unsure if this was part of the act. But Elvis wasn't joking. His voice was calm, sure, but there was a seriousness in his tone. The kind that made you sit up and pay attention. The boy's mother whispered, "Just say sorry," gently nudging her son to shrink into the seat. But Elvis raised a hand and smiled. No, don't hide him. He's got more guts than most people I know." The crowd shifted, unsure how to react. A few clapped lightly, others just watched, confused. But the boy, he was still frozen, staring up at Elvis like he couldn't believe this was really happening. And then, with that easy southern charm, Elvis leaned into the mic and said something that would stick in everyone's memory that night. "Oh, why don't you come up here, son?" The room gasped, not loudly, but just enough to feel it ripple through the crowd. All the judgment, all the laughter from a few minutes ago, gone, replaced by surprise, and maybe even a little admiration. The boy looked at his mom, unsure. She looked back at him, eyes wide, almost asking, "Are you going to go?" He slowly stood up, legs shaking, hands clenched into nervous fists, and began making his way down the aisle. People moved aside for him, whispering things like a "Go on, kid, and you got this." Elvis waited patiently, smiling as the boy climbed the steps to the stage. When he finally reached the top, Elvis bent down and put a hand on his shoulder. "What's your name, son?" he asked. "Danny," the boy managed to say, voice barely above a whisper. "Oh well, Danny, you've got a big voice for a little guy." Elvis grinned. "Want to sing something with me?" "Yes." Danny nodded, eyes wide, mouth trembling. Elvis walked him over to the mic and leaned down. "Just follow me," he whispered. And in front of thousands of strangers, the boy who had once been laughed at started to sing beside Elvis Presley himself. And no one, not a single person, was laughing now. The spotlight dimmed just enough to feel intimate, like the whole showroom had shrunk down to just two people, Elvis Presley and this nervous young boy named Danny. The orchestra looked around, waiting on Elvis's cue, unsure what was coming next. Neither was the audience. Everyone sat forward in their seats, barely breathing. Elvis leaned into the mic and said, "Let's take it slow, y'all. We're going to do something simple." He gave the band a small nod. A gentle melody began to play, the soft opening notes of a "Love Me Tender." It was a song people knew by heart, but tonight it felt different, more tender, more real. Elvis started the first line in that smooth, soul-soaked voice that only he had. Then, halfway through the second verse, he gently nudged Danny forward, and Danny began to sing. It was quiet at first, unsure, trembling even, but it was sincere. His voice cracked just a bit, but that didn't matter. The whole room leaned in closer. Elvis smiled down at him, giving the boy confidence with nothing but a look. By the time they hit the chorus, Danny's voice had found its footing. He sang from the heart, like he meant every word, and for a moment it was like the crowd disappeared, like it was just the two of them. A music legend and a little boy with a dream, sharing a spotlight. No one expected what came next. As the last note faded, the room stayed silent for a heartbeat longer than usual. That stunned kind of silence that happens when something real has just unfolded. Then the applause erupted. Not polite clapping. Not the kind of cheer that happens because you're supposed to. This was raw, joyful, thunderous applause, the kind that comes from being truly moved. People stood up. Grown men wiped their eyes. Women clutched their hearts. And Danny, he looked overwhelmed, a little dazed, like he wasn't sure if this was a dream or if he'd actually just sung on stage with Elvis Presley. Elvis put an arm around his shoulder and gave him the kind of grin that said, "A kid, you just did something unforgettable." As the crowd rose to their feet, Danny stood there frozen, staring out into a sea of smiling faces, blinking against the lights and the moment. Koja. He didn't move until Elvis gently squeezed his shoulder and leaned down. "You did good, Danny. Real good." The boy looked up, still stunned. "I didn't mess up?" Elvis chuckled. "You didn't just not mess up, son. You made this night something none of us are going to forget." Danny's mom stood off to the side of the stage, hands over her mouth, eyes full of tears. Elvis motioned for her to come up. As she stepped onto the stage, the crowd parted for her like royalty. When she reached her son, she pulled him into a hug that said 1,000 things, without a single word. Then Elvis turned to the audience. Folks," he said, "tonight wasn't just about the music. It was about heart. And that little man over there, he's got more of it than most." The crowd cheered again, not just for the performance, but for the moment, the honesty of it, the humanity. Elvis walked Danny and his mom backstage himself. Along the way, he asked the boy all sorts of questions. Where he was from, what kind of music he liked, if he'd ever sung on stage before. Danny, still in awe, answered with a mix of words and wide-eyed nods. Before they parted, Elvis reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small, a gold guitar pick with his initials engraved on it. He placed it in Danny's hand and said, "Now you've got no excuse not to keep singing." Danny stared at it like it was a piece of the moon. Choose a piece of the moon. "Thank you, Mr. Presley," he whispered. Elvis smiled. "You can call me Elvis." And just like that, the moment ended. Danny and his mom left the building, walking out into the warm Vegas night, changed. And backstage, Elvis sat down quietly, still smiling to himself. He didn't say much, just shook his head and said to no one in particular, sometimes the best part of a show ain't even in the script. Word of what had happened that night spread like wildfire. By the next morning, Local radio stations were already talking about how the boy Elvis brought on stage. We even, showroom staff, security guards, even the lighting crew, everyone had their own version of the story. But the heart of it was the same. A child's courage, a crowd's shift from ridicule to awe, and a superstar who knew exactly when to step back and let someone else shine. Fun. Danny, still clutching that gold guitar pick like it was the most precious thing in the world, didn't sleep a wink that night. He replayed every moment in his head. The sound of the applause, the feeling of the spotlight, the warmth in Elvis's voice when he said, "You did good." For Elvis, it wasn't just a sweet moment. It was a reminder of what really mattered. See, Elvis had all the fame, all the money, all the headlines. But moments like that, they fed his soul. He'd grown up as a poor kid in Tupelo, Mississippi. He knew what it felt like to be overlooked, to be the one nobody paid attention to, until suddenly they did. That's why he saw himself in Danny. Later that week, Elvis sent a handwritten note to the boys' hotel. Keep singing. And always remember, you don't need a stage to be heard. You just need heart. Elvis us. That note stayed framed on Danny's bedroom wall for years. And whenever life got hard, whenever the world felt too big or dreams felt too far away, you'd look at it and remember the night he was more than just a kid in the crowd. He was the show. If this story touched your heart like it did ours, take a second to hit that like button. It truly helps us share these moments with more people. And if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic of being seen when it matters most, subscribe to the channel. We've got more unforgettable stories coming your way, and we'd love for you to be part of the journey. Let us know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in that boy's shoes? Or Elvis's? We read every word you write. And remember, sometimes the greatest moments in history don't happen on stage. They happen when someone in the crowd dares to sing.